Okay, nice. Hey, everybody! Welcome to today's sessions. I'm Ian Joroge. I co-lead Developer Students Club, Moi University in Kenya, exactly in Eldoret. And today's session we collaborate with DSC from AIT in India, and we privileged to have some guys who interned and at Google, and they'll be sharing their experience about the interim process, the applying, everything about the, the procedure and process. So I'm excited to learn, to grow, to connect, and hope everybody is excited. So I think for the next 7 minutes, we will do a small poll on slido.com where as we wait everybody to join and to be on board with the live stream, we'll do a small poll in Slido where where are you from, something like Nairobi, Kenya, Munich, Germany, what is it called, Mumbai, India. So I will hand over to Gracie to handle the icebreaker session. Grace, you there?
Hey, yeah. I'm here. So we'll be okay. I'll give you directions on how you're going to use Slido. So you just go to your browser you're using and enter slido.com. There, I'll share with you a code in the chat section, which is I'll share with you in the chat section, and you'll find a question. You tell us your location, where you're tuning in from, where you're listening to us from, and yeah. So okay, for those who are listening, the code is hashtag 31963. You enter that, okay, on the when you enter slido.com on your browser, you'll find where your place where you're supposed to enter this code, and you're going to enter it, and then you'll find a live poll, and you're going to tell us where you're tuning in from. Yeah. Yeah, I just shared the code. Is it visible to everyone? Back to you, Ian.
So, hey everyone, if you're joining right now, this is DSC Moyuni plus DSC AIT in India, and we're doing a collaboration, and we're privileged to have Google Interns. They'll be sharing their story and what have we about everything you need to know about entering at Google. So, meanwhile, as we wait guys to on board, we're doing a small poll on Slido. So, head out to your browser, either your phone, your PC, your tablet, your iPad. Head out to slido.com and enter the code that is 31963 and vote your location, that is like Nairobi, Kenya, Lagos, Nigeria, and we want to know where you guys are streaming live from and where you getting us from.
As we speak, the poll is live now, and we have votes from people from Nairobi, in India, Munich, in Germany. Keep going. Okay. Just a moment. I'll be sharing my screen.
Okay, Grace, can you share your screen? Because I can see a
Yeah.
lot of people are responding to our messages. It's to the slido.com. And we have people from Bangalore, we have people from Nairobi, we have people from Germany, Nepal, and Madagascar. So we have a people from a lot of parts of lot of countries and continents. So yeah, you can see the responses here.
Can you see my screen? Okay.
Okay, so once again, hello guys. I think we are at a good quorum. So let me just bring you up to speed about today's session. We privileged today to have three of Google interns, and they will be sharing the experience how they got at Google and how is it entering at Google. So this call is brought to you by DSC University and DSC AIT in India, and we did a collab just to make you guys have a clue of what is like entering at Google. So meanwhile, we're doing a small poll to see where you guys are from. So head out to slido.com on your browser, that is any web browser that is PC or mobile, and you can just quickly, the code is 3131963. That is 31963, and you can vote. You can see most guys are from India, and thanks guys for showing up. We got guys from Germany, Eldoret, Kenya, Nairobi, from Munich, from Nepal, and appreciate you guys for tuning in for today's event. So I think that's all we had for the icebreaker. So we can now officially start our session today. And this session will begin by our leads introducing themselves and telling us just a brief into about the event. So I will hand over to the DSC lead of AIT, who will do a small intro about himself and about the session. Then he will he'll hand it over to Ivy, DSC lead Mo University. To you, Tanai.
So yeah, thanks a lot, Ian, and thank you everyone. So I feel really privileged to be collaborated with this wonderful event, and I can see a lot of people are here from different parts of world, and especially from India. So thank you all for joining it, and we hope this session is going to be amazing because people are from different places, and especially our speakers are from Google, and they're gonna guide us, and they're gonna answer a lot of queries which we have. So I'll again thank everyone for joining this, and I'll pass on to Ivy to share some words here.
So hi guys, my name is Ivy Lokwa. I'm the DSC lead Mo University. I'm really sorry for any background noises. I'm on transit, so I'm really grateful you guys took your time to join today's call. And I hope you guys have fun and get to learn a lot from our Google Interns here today. So yeah, have fun and enjoy the session. Thank you.
Okay, thank you to Tanai and thank you to Ivy for making this event a success, and thank you for being part of this wonderful community. So I think without further ado, we on track with time. I will now hand over the session to our speakers so that they get to intro themselves and take away with the presentation. So right now I will hand over to Viviana, who will do the intro and pass the intro to the others and head on with the presentation. Hey, Viviana.
Hey, thanks for the introductions. And we're also really happy to join. So hopefully we can answer some of your questions today. Yeah, so we can start with an introduction. Jonathan, can you do the next slide, please? Yes, so yeah, this is three of us. Jonathan, I think you can start with introducing yourself.
Yes, hi, I'm Jonathan. I'm from Munich, and I'm studying at the Technical University of Munich in my master's now, and I did an internship last summer at Google as part of Chrome's team.
Hello, I'm Lucas. I am also from Munich, and I also did an internship this year with Google. I also did 2 internships before, and I was in Google Munich and in Google Zurich, and I'm looking forward to giving you a better overview of what Google internships are like, hopefully.
Yeah, thanks. And I'm Viviana. I'm studying with Jonathan and Lucas, obviously also in Munich. That's where we know each other from. And this is also my second time internship. This time I was in Google Lens. So I'll start with my part. So first of all, maybe I can introduce to you what an internship is. So basically an internship is an opportunity for you as a student to work at a company for either full-time or part-time and to get some insights into what it is like to work at that company. And maybe just generally why you should do an internship during your studies. There are multiple reasons that I really found interesting. First of all, it's really cool to have hands-on experience in real projects. What I mean by that is if you do projects in university, often they are only done to get you a grade in the end, and then they're basically thrown away afterwards. And in an internship, when you work in a company, the company gets some value from your work, and this project that you do is actually used with real people in a real company. And so I think that's a really nice thought to know that what you do will be used with real people. Secondly, of course, it's a really good opportunity for you to have a sneak peek into a company. So if you have been interested in getting to know a company, it's a really good way for you to go there for like 2 months or 3 months and see what it is really like to work there. And then, of course, connections. You will get to know a lot of people there. You will get to know a lot of really amazing engineers and programmers. And if you decide to go to this company after you graduate, if you want to work there afterwards, then it's, of course, really great if the company already knows what you can do and if they already know your work. And on the other hand, even if you don't decide to go into this company, but you want to go somewhere else, it's always great to have people that know what you can do and that can write you a reference. And then lastly, of course, it's really good to have an internship on your CV because that proves that you know what it is like to work and that you are able to do good work in a company. So yeah. Now, interning at Google specifically, because you can also do internships in many other companies like Microsoft, Facebook, or other companies that are maybe around your local city. And I would really recommend looking at those. But we're here to talk about internships at Google, obviously. So here are some quick facts about that. So all of us did the computer science, the software engineering internships. That's why I'm going to focus on these more. But this is just a quick slide about what else exists. So first of all, for computer science students or anyone who studies anything that goes into the direction of programming, there's 3 different kinds of internships you can do. The first one is for the beginners, so this first and second year of your studies. It's called STEP internship. And the STEP internship, generally, the projects are a bit smaller and scoped down, and you have 2 hosts, and typically you're paired up with another STEP intern and you do the project kind of together. So it's just generally more guided and more easy approachable for people that don't have as much experience, maybe. From second year to your end of your master's, I'm not sure how the university structure in your countries are like, but for us, it's basically we have 3 years bachelor's and then 2 years master's. And so basically from the second year until your final year of your studies, you can do the software engineering or the site reliability engineering, so SWE or SRE internships. And that's what all of us did. And we're going to talk about those a little bit more in the next slides. And then after you finish your master's, or I mean during your master's or during your PhD, you can also do a research internship. And the research internship is different from the software engineering internship because instead of working on a project that is going to be launched in Google or outside, you do research. That means that you, for example, write papers, and your goal is to write a paper and present your research findings in some conference. And so, yeah, that's really cool if you're interested in doing some research. If you're not a computer science student or if you're interested in something else, you can also do some of the other internships that Google offers. For example, for people that like business, there's business internships in all kinds of directions. If you're into designing things or doing user research, you can do a UX or UI internship where you will help like designing different things inside of Google. If you're more into hardware, electrical engineering, there's also hardware and IT internships, I think mostly in the US, but also somewhere else, I think. And then, for example, one of the cool internships is as well product management, which means that you are the person who kind of helps a real product manager to manage the product, obviously. So kind of you work together with software engineers, you work with UXers, you work with researchers, and you kind of try to bring everyone together so that the project in the end is a success. And I think that's also a really cool internship. All right. Now for the duration. So the internship that I'm going to talk about is the software engineering internship, which is what we did. For those, the minimum weeks is 13 weeks, but you can also make it longer if you want. It's also flexible in regards of timing, so you can kind of say whenever you want to start, in which month you want to start. But definitely, at least in Europe, the peak time is summer, which means somewhere between June and October. And I would definitely recommend going in the summer because all of the other interns will be there at that time. And all of the intern events that Google organizes, like I think Jonathan or Lucas will talk about those later, but there are many cool things that you can do in the summer that maybe aren't there in other times. Yeah, so I would definitely recommend going in the summer if you can. And then what it usually looks like is, first of all, you have some weeks of onboarding, which means that you have some time to get to know your project, get to know the code that you will be working on, maybe learn the language that you need. Then you have like 1.5 or more months of actual working on your project. And then in the end, it's a very traditional thing kind of to present what you did to your team. And for that, you have some time to prepare the presentation and prepare some documentation and all of that. So all in all, it's a really good time. I just want to stress that it's really fun. It's not as strict as you might think and not as stressful as you think. And then lastly, who you're going to meet. There's a lot of people you're going to meet. So first of all, you have a recruiter. The recruiter is a person that is basically your first point of contact. So that's the person that reaches out to you and guides you through the whole application process and interviewing and all of that. And that person is also there after the internship and during the internship to answer any questions that you have. And so it's really good to know that you have a person that you can ask anything. And then you have a host. The host is the person that's typically for the software engineering internship, it's a normal software engineer at Google that is basically your like mentor and the person who gives you your project, who will talk to you every like day or second day or maybe every week to see that you're making the progress that you need to do and to help you out with anything related to the project. And then at the end of an internship, you usually get feedback for what you did. And for that, usually we need 2 feedbacks. So there's usually one other person that's sometimes called co-host that knows what you have done, that is able to give some feedback at the end. And both of these people are really experienced software engineers and really cool people. So it's cool to have those to ask any technical questions and to learn from them. And then there's other people that you can meet. One example is a buddy that's sometimes just another person in the team that has nothing to do with your project, and that's just there to be your friend, kind of, and to ask anything. You have a mentor, or you can have a mentor, which is a person on another team that you can choose, and that's really interesting to like get insights into other teams. For example, I was interested in research teams, so I have a mentor in the research team, and I could ask a lot of questions regarding a research career. Should I do a PhD or not? And all of that kind of questions you can ask your mentor. And then there's hundreds of other interns that you will get in contact with and have fun with. And literally anyone at Google is really, really happy to talk to you. Like sometimes I was interested in DeepMind, for example, or Google X, and I just wrote an email, hey, I have some questions, do you want to meet? And all of them were like really happy to talk to an intern. So all in all, I'm just saying this because interning at Google sounds really difficult and like maybe ambitious, but in the end, there are so many people that really want to help you and that are there if you have any questions or concerns. So like, don't be afraid, basically, of the internship. Yeah, and lastly, I wanted to share some locations. So unfortunately, we are all from Europe, which means we don't have a lot of insights into the Google situation in Africa and in India, but these are what I found on the Google Jobs page. So these are some of the locations that offer internships in like Africa and then also some in Europe. So in Europe, there's a lot of other locations that I couldn't fit on here. And then also for India, India has, I think, 2. The problem is India is not in the same region as Africa and Middle East and Africa. Europe, Middle East and Africa. It's in APEC, so in Asian and all of that region. So unfortunately, I don't think we have a lot of insights into their specific process and places, but this is basically what I could find. I also not sure if the internships are open in India yet, but you can definitely look it up afterwards. Yeah, and that's it from my side.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you a little bit about all the cool things you can do inside the Google office and during your time that you're gonna be there. So as you can see from the pictures, there's a lot of cool facilities in a Google office. It's kind of doesn't really feel like an office and more like a playground or some like nice place to relax where you can basically spend your entire time at if you want. There's a lot of rooms for making music, for napping. There's massage chairs. There's even like a room where you can get a professional massage by like a real person. And of course, all of it you can use for free. And there's so many things that kind of they provide their employees to keep them happy, which is really it's really like, amazing to experience. And on the next slide, you can see a little more of like examples of the things you get for free. There's basically your workday kind of looks like more events in your calendar that are about kind of leisure time or doing anything like that distracts you from your work than kind of actual meetings. Like I sometimes had the feeling of, oh, it's pretty hard to actually focus on my work because there's so many things I could do that are offered. So there's, for example, like gym and fitness classes that are offered. You can do kitchen syncs, which is like food and cooking classes, and you can get all kinds of things. And most importantly, the coffee, of course. Every programmer lives by coffee and basically converts coffee to code. So having coffee everywhere is a very important part of the office as well. Furthermore, there is something called Tgif, and that is basically has various meanings. One of them is kind of the social aspect. That is every Friday, kind of a gathering of people in your office about like just socializing and having a drink and kind of getting to know each other better. So it's kind of celebrating the weekend and kind of this activity. And the other thing is what you can see here in the picture is actually a central event that goes across the entire company worldwide, and that's Tgif happening in Mountain View and streamed to all over the world, where like Sundar Pichai himself presents kind of the topics that are top of mind for the company, and also the team leaders of various projects present what they have been doing and give some sneak peek into what is going on across Google. Obviously, since Google is such a large company that encompasses so many different aspects, it's really kind of valuable to have this insight in what is going on and like what is happening across different products. And also very important part of that event is the Q&A part, where everybody in the company can ask questions, pretty similar to Slido, how we're using it here. And the most upvoted questions are then answered by the respective team leaders, which is kind of contributes to a very open culture and a very encourages team leaders to also justify their decisions. And whenever there's something controversial coming up, like, oh, why did you decide to do this and not that, then you can expect that the next TGIF that there will be a question about that. And you can see that product owners and people really high up in the hierarchy take criticism very seriously. Apart from that, there's usually a lot of fun activities that are organized during the summer, as Vivi said before. For example, we had the Intern Summit that is usually happening sometime in July, where all the interns from the EMEA region are basically like some events there. And for example, we went on a boat cruise on the Zurich Lake, which was really fun. Sadly, of course, this didn't happen this year for obvious reasons. So this picture is from 2019 from our internship there. Also, we were lucky and we got to travel with our team to an offsite in Barcelona. So normally each team has some budget available to spend on kind of these offsites where the team travels together somewhere. And so last year I was in YouTube and my YouTube sub-team went to Barcelona and we were allowed to come with them. So that was basically a really fun end of the internship. Yeah, a few more things that I found surprising that I didn't expect before I started the internship. First and foremost, the community. It was really surprising to me how many amazing people you meet there and how quickly you kind of make friends. And I met so many people during this internship like from all over the world, that all kind of came together in a new environment, and it just really, you cannot help but make new friends there. And it's really, really, really a great situation. And the other thing that surprised me was how much Google embraces memes. There's a dedicated platform just for memes within the company, and you see memes everywhere, from like intern presentations to like the most important product presentations. Like memes will follow you throughout your internship, which I think is like makes the culture very relaxed as well. Next, there was kind of like this notion that you sometimes also hear about from the outside. It's like, oh, nobody really controls what you're doing, which is completely true. Like your working times are really, really flexible. Like in many companies, it's customary to kind of have like fixed working times, and if you like arrive late to the office, then you get scolded for it or something like this. Whereas at Google, nobody really cares when you work. It's only important that you get your work done. And that also shows like some trust and some respect for employees. And if you have something important coming up, then you need to take off like this one day and instead like work on the other day. That's completely fine. So of course you should be there for team meetings, but otherwise it's up to you how you manage your time. And generally the level of transparency within the company is, as I mentioned, with Tgif and other discussion platforms, there's really a lot of things within the company that encourage you to speak up your mind, to say when you're not happy with something. And yeah, I found it quite pleasant to have around you. And last but not least, there's frequently like somebody who messes up and brings something down, and maybe YouTube is offline for like 1 hour or 2 hours and the entire world loses their minds. I think that happened a few days ago. And of course somebody is going to be responsible for that, but the good thing is that mistakes are not punished like personally. Like you don't get fired for making like a wrong change and accidentally pushing that and costing the company millions of dollars. Like it's not your fault. It happens, and it's like a very open culture around that. And whenever something like this happens, there's a postmortem that is written on it without any blame. And basically, it's trying to learn from that. And I think that you hear that up from a lot of companies, how that's a thing that everybody tries to sweep mistakes under the rug, and that just makes them even worse, and nobody can learn from them. And so I found it really, really nice that this is so positively encouraged. Yeah, so much from my end, and I'll hand it over to Jonathan to tell you about the sad reality of this year and possibly the next year.
Yeah, thanks, Lucas. So yeah, because of COVID, Google moved all the internships to a remote version, to a virtual setup. So everybody worked from home. This is also going to be next year as well. That's already confirmed. And this also meant for me that I had to move from Google Maps to Google Chrome, because first-time midterms, they're then only allowed to work on open source stuff. But which is also pretty cool, because now I can actually see my code and show it to people. They also, like some unlucky people who went to America, or would have went to America, or like cross continents, had to stay in Europe because of the time zones. But everybody still got their laptop and the monitor shipped to home. But yeah, the worst part is obviously there's no food. That was a bummer. That was something I was looking forward to. I went to the Munich office before for some events, and I got to eat the food. It's really nice, and having that every day morning for breakfast, dinner, and lunch is pretty amazing. Yeah, then like since it's virtual setup, like also the activities slightly changed. There wasn't like an intern summit with a boat trip. It was a bit different. So there were many like social chats where you just went into a Google Meet, and just talked to people, group sizes from 2 to 10 to 20 or something. And you were playing games or just chatting. They also provide a lot of online courses in general, like either live or as a video. And there's also like some cooking classes in there. So I took a knife cutting skills course, for example, or Tgif classes. You can do like remote workouts, where you have like a trainer with you on a Google Meet, and then you basically just like work out together, and he tells you what to do better. But also like in general trainings. So on all your soft skills and hard skills, your coding, you can improve a lot there as well. They have an internal, like they have everything you can imagine internally. So they have their own video platform basically that teaches you stuff, various things. They also offered like some leadership and product talks where they introduced, where the leaders introduced themselves, like some of the vice presidents and CEOs and whatever, from different products, and also like about the products they're working on. And then you even had the chance to get a coffee chat with one of the executives from your team. So I had like from some of the responsible people for Chrome, like some engineering managers, I was talking to with like 2 or 3 other interns, which is pretty cool. Yeah, then to like what I was working on. Since I worked on Chrome, I can talk about it. Since it's open source, the others unfortunately can't. But not in a big way, at least. So Chrome's open source. It's a pretty big project. I don't know the exact numbers, but I think it's roughly about 35 gigabytes just source. If you have all the build artifacts, it's like roughly 100 gigabyte it takes on space on your device. It's like 30 million lines of code roughly. But the cool part is that you can actually navigate the source code. So Google has since this is a pretty big thing, it's very hard to like navigate the code on a local device, and resolving all the dependencies and everything. So they have like an online code search tool that is also used within Google's internal code base. But you can try it out for free. You basically just have to go to source.chromie.org and you can check it out. It's like a good IDE, but on steroids. Yeah. Then they also have like their own version control system. They use a version of Git, but they do it slightly differently. So for those of you who are familiar with Git, who aren't familiar, it's like a version control system for your code files. And usually you do something called feature branches, where you basically, when you want to build a new feature, you build a branch, or you create a branch, and then you build your feature in that branch, and then if it's done, you merge it to master, or like to the other branches. But within Google, it's slightly different. So you have, and these feature branches can be pretty big in practice. But Google does it slightly different. They have like change lists. So, and these changes are fairly small. They have like rough to like 300 or 400 lines of code maximum of change. And the reason is that, first of all, it's easier to review because you don't have to check that many files and check what could be wrong about it. And second of all, if you have a deadline coming and then suddenly like multiple teams, like 1,000 engineers working on Chrome, if they then all want to merge their changes, you get so many merge conflicts, it just doesn't work. So this is why they have a different version control. And this is also what is used within Google, which is like gives you a bit more insights. So looking at open source projects from Google gives you more insights on how Google works within the company. Yeah, there's also like if you want to get more information about Chrome, there's also a YouTube playlist called Chrome University, where they just introduce various topics on Chrome. And we can check it out right now. I'm gonna share my tab with, I stopped, 1 second. It should be coming up right now. Yes, perfect. So you can basically, like, this is what code search looks like. You can basically search for files or for anything you want. They also have regex support. You can basically search for everything you want. And then this is like an example file that I also worked on. And this is like anonymizing data, basically. So it's adding noise to the data, and then it's sent to the server. And like working on such a project, especially as a newbie.
Sorry, it's a bit hard to read.
Oh, okay, thanks. Let me increase the font size. Should be good now, right? Perfect. I hope the resolution is coming everywhere to India and Kenya in high resolution, but we'll see. Okay, yeah, so this is basically like, if you start with like on a project like Chrome, it's very hard to get started because there's just so much code to read to understand everything. And such a tool as code search really helps you with that, because like this one, for example, like the most important method in there is basically like the encode method. And you get like some arguments, and you have absolutely no idea what, especially for a string piece, maybe you don't really know what it is, right? So you can click on it and you get more information about it. But you can also like simply check out how it's used. So if you click on encode and on the method name, basically gives you, for example, the references, right? So where it is used and what kind of files, and then you can check out how it's used there. So here they do this stuff. But what is actually really, like, this is something that most IDEs can also do, but what is really, really powerful is the call stack. So this is the German word for call stack. Ignore this. So basically, you can basically check how it is called. This is a unit test. There it is used. So you can basically go through the entire call stack of the method that is called, and you can basically backpropagate through all the method calls. And you can check how all these objects that are given as a parameter to the function are constructed. And this is something that is really, really helpful when trying to figure out how the code actually works. Yeah, and then there's also the code review tool. And this is also, like, as I said, all these CLs are fairly small. So this is like 350 diff in total. And then you have different reviewers. This one was something that was a pretty big change. So it was like 4 reviewers from across the world. And they just review and they make comments on there. And then you basically have different patch sets. So you start with the version, then you incrementally update them, and they give you comments and you fix stuff. Yeah, this is basically the most important part here. Let me just share this as a tab again. Yeah, so this is some insights. If you have more questions on this, if you want me to get into more detail, just ask your questions, Baidu, to let me know what is interesting and what not. So next up, the applications. If you want to get an internship at Google, you have to apply on the portal. You simply apply all your data and your CV, and optionally you can add a cover letter as well, but it's usually not really needed. But maybe you can, if you have a question about that, ask later. Then if you're on the resume screening, then you might actually get a get a coding task as well. This varies from candidate to candidate. We don't really know the pattern there. And then if you're accepted, you get scheduled for 2 technical interviews. Those are 45 minutes per interview, back to back. And you have like each can have 1 or 2 coding questions, depending on the interviewer. And it's usually always just algorithms and data structures. Sometimes they also ask you some questions about the CV, about your CV, but it's usually just algorithms and data structures. Very important is that you, during the interview, that you explain clearly what you're thinking of. So with algorithmic questions, you basically have to find a solution that has the optimal runtime for the problem, and you should usually start with the brute force solution and then say what you can improve, and then you finally come to like the optimal solution. Yeah, and if you pass these interviews, congratulations. Then you have to get a Google form. That's your internship questionnaire, where you give your location preferences and information about like what kind of products you're interested. And then other Googlers who are looking for interns can look at your data and can select you for another interview. That is basically this candidate pool, like the host matching. So after you finish your interviews and you have succeeded them, you don't have an internship guaranteed, but basically guaranteed. So you're still in this host matching phase where you have to find a project, where like other teams or hosts can reach out to you and they schedule another interview with you, and then they decide if each of you decide if you're a good match for the project. But usually, like especially in EMEA, I think it's very unusual that people don't get a project. So usually you get one. Yeah, and then if that works out, you're in. Congratulations. But then during your internship, you have to decide if you want to do a returning internship or if you want to go for conversion, for full-time conversion. So first of all, you can only do internships when you're a student. And it has to be like at least like a half a year or a year after your internship where you continue. Like after the internship, you have to continue your studies or your PhD. So if you have if you study after your internship and then for like at least 2 years, you can go for returning internship. Means if you have good feedback from your hosts, you can, like Google gets you an offer for the next year as well. But then you're in host matching again. If you want to go for a full-time position, you usually have to do interviews afterwards as well. So if you simply apply for full-time internship, you usually have to do more than 6 or more interviews. But since you have your internship already, they basically consider that as part of your interviews. So you had 2 interviews before your internship, and then if you have 2 feedbacks from your host and co-host, that's basically 4, and then you have to do 2 conversion interviews, which is what makes the chance of succeeding to get to a full-time position much higher. So if you want to go for full-term, it's very great if you do your internship first. And then if you do two internships, you often can completely skip the interviews and you directly get a full-time offer if your feedback from your hosts is good enough. Yeah, that's basically it from us. If you have any questions regarding everything, just put them up on Slido. And maybe we can put the link again in the YouTube chat. And then I think everybody should be able to access it. Maybe we can already start with some of the questions. If there are
Okay, thank you, Dres, for the deep dive. I will hand over to Cliff. Cliff will handle the question on Q&A. Cliff? Tracy?
Okay. Okay, so I will be sharing my screen, some of the questions that have been
I think someone on YouTube also asked if they can just directly ask the questions in YouTube. So maybe we can also go through that comment or those comments.
okay.
Yeah, I don't know how many questions
Can I go first and then before I...
Okay, so I'll just take questions from YouTube Live. Okay, how to make your resume ATS friendly? Because itself. So please share your experience with it. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a very important question because out of all the steps that we showed you about applying, like the very first one is the hardest one because we will get so many applications that most resumes are just filtered automatically. And if you already kind of are rejected in the stage, it's sadly you don't even get to prove your abilities. So personally, I think the most important part is keeping it very short and focusing on kind of things that make you special, things that kind of stick out from other students. So of course, like this can be different for different people. If you have worked on some open source projects, for example, that is like a very good thing to put in your resume. If you have like attended any programming related events, if you have any personal projects that you have had in your past, all of these things are great to just make sure like it looks tidy, that it has a good layout. So as soon as somebody looks at it, like they can like easily see the most important information, and also focus on basically on the results. Whenever you have any numbers to back things up, make sure to put those there. Like, oh, I contributed to this project which made an impact on like 5,000 people going to this event, or whatever it might be. Those are also very very strong things that recruiters are looking out for.
Okay. So thank you, Lucas. I have another question, related to this. So a lot of developers have a question that should they focus on CP, competitive programming, and maybe like a lead code, or should they focus on development, on making projects? So what should be their focus on?
I think it's both. Like whatever you have, I think it's good. People that I know got the internships are coming from all kinds of backgrounds. Many of them are from competitive coding, but also others have never done any competitive coding. They just did some projects. I think anything that you have, you should definitely list. And then like if you really don't have any space left on your CV, yeah, I would just try to make sure that you keep the things that really make you stand out. So yeah.
So how long should be the CV be? How many pages? Like 2? Is it fine to have a 2-page CV, or it should be only 1? Right.
1 page.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think our opinions vary a bit on this. Like some people prefer, okay, 2 pages is fine, but I think 1 page for a student and applying for an internship, I think 1 page is absolutely fine.
But actually, yeah. So actually, people say that the ATS machine gets a lot of difficulty in reading the applications, which are have a lot of tables, and means they have occupied the space. They have used only 1 single page, but again, it has a lot of tables and it has a lot of divisions, and somehow they have fixed it. So is it like having a 2-page CV, making separate columns and making it clear and clean, or is it like having a 1-page CV and fixing everything in that? So people have this question, like they somehow try to fit everything in 1 page, and sometimes it becomes ATS. ATS gets difficulty to read data out of it, fetch data out of it, and then so I guess you get my question, right?
I understand what you mean, and I agree to a certain point that 1 page maybe is a bit sounds like a strange way of thinking. And I think it also depends on the recruiter, since the recruiter probably has a fixed number of seconds that it spends on each CV. So in theory, I think it doesn't have to be truly bad if it's 2 pages. It usually is, but it doesn't have to be. If there's a lot of spacing and you can still really read the CV really fast. But I think more crucial is that you simply leave out all the unnecessary parts. So simply, if it's 2 pages, you can usually shorten it to just 1 page, and you don't have to squeeze everything together.
Sure.
It's throw out some stuff that isn't too important. They know that it's just 1 page, and they expect if you have really great accomplishments, they expect that you have to do some medium accomplishments as well.
So we have we'll take one more question from YouTube now. So okay, someone has asked roughly how long it take to receive the reply, to get the reply after applying for the internship. When you apply, how many days or how much time they take to reply you back for your application?
I think this depends on when you apply, and there isn't a fixed number of days that we have to have a reply. I think when I applied, I was fairly early. So basically on the day they opened the applications, I applied, and I had a referral by a Googler, and I think I got a reply after 2 weeks. I think I know of some people who had to wait 1 or 2 months for a reply. Maybe there are some more. Maybe Lucas and Vivi have some more insights.
I don't remember exactly how long it took for me, but yeah, definitely order of magnitude of some weeks to maybe 2 months. I think that's reasonable to expect. Also, I think, I'm not sure if we highlighted this, but the application process is fixed. So the time during the year in which you make the internship, that is very flexible. But the application period for the entire year 2021, that is just right now until I think sometime in November.
5th of December, I think, or 4th.
Is the deadline. So if you want to apply, then you have to do it in this period now.
Yeah.
And then after that period is over, you can expect to get a reply probably sometime in December, maybe in January.
Yeah, and also apply as early as possible.
Okay. Yeah.
And also, if you know a Googler or someone who has worked with you who is now at Google, definitely ask for a referral, because that also speeds up your CV review, which means that the recruiter has to look at your CV in a certain amount of time. So I think that makes it also a bit faster.
And more likely that you pass the automatic filters as well.
Yeah, ATS one, right? Yeah, sure. So, okay. So we have another question. Is the STEP internship paid? I guess it's paid, right? The STEP internship. Every internship is paid, right?
Yes. All
So-
internships are paid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Google is very known for paying a lot, I guess. And it really depends on where you do the internship. We only have our references in Europe, but
Yeah,
Oh,
in India also.
have-
Yeah.
Yeah, you have different like money things, but I think we got like, what's it, 780,000 Kenyan shilling per month, or 530,000 Indian rupee per month. That's what we got in Munich.
But of course, the salaries vary depending on which country you have the contract with. So yeah, so we don't know any numbers from Kenya or India, unfortunately. But you can expect that it's quite a handsome salary. It's usually a very high salary, even for like compared to other programming roles.
But just since that was about STEP internships, the salaries vary between the jobs. So STEP internship is paid less than.
And not just India, typically.
And especially with the virtual internships, your physical location is not that important. So basically, any team, you're just going to be working with any team that is located in this general region. So for example, I was working this year from Munich, but my team was located in Zurich. So basically, you're not very restricted in what kind of teams are in the office close to you, as long as it's like in the same general region.
Okay. This is my personal question. Like, if you are contributing to the Google repositories in GitHub in the open source, so do you get the chance to work with them? Like, if you're really a good contributor, you're contributing every time, and will you get the chance to work with Google? Is there any way to get through that through open source?
So I think generally, I don't know generally, but one thing that I could mention is there's this thing called Google Summer of Code. And Google Summer of Code basically is quite similar to the internship, but open source, which means that you will work with professionals. It can be Googlers, it can be other people. During the summer, you will get paid for that, and you have a project in open source. Maybe that is a good way to get connections. And also, if you do open source contributions anyways, it's definitely a good thing on your CV, so it makes your possibility to get an internship also higher. I'm not sure about how you can directly get contacts to Googlers through contributing, though.
I think I've heard of some cases where that actively contributed to Google Codebases, and then they had a reviewer who was like kind of a little bit like knew their GitHub name and was like reviewing their code every now and then. So they reached out to that person to like ask for a referral, which again is the thing. If you know an active Googler through any means, by all means, ask them and ask them to write an internal referral, because that will be a really, really useful thing to have. So if you contribute to a Google repository, I think that is like a good chance to ask for such a referral as well.
Yeah. So that's really amazing. Okay, so I'll just ask, like, we have questions from like our audience is really enthusiastic and they want to ask a lot of questions. So can we pick up a couple of questions from because I think we are a little out of time, but can we pick up questions from Slido? Do we have time? Can we do that now? Sure. Okay, so Grace, can you share the screen, or else I should do like? Are you here?
I can also share mine. I have it open as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Should I, or?
Any one of you can do.
Sure.
Sure. Okay. Jonathan, you can do it. So you can share the screen and we can have questions. Right.
Okay, you should be able to see it, right?
A little bit if you can zoom. Maybe for the YouTube stream people, I can see it. But yeah, perfect now. Perfect. Sure.
Okay. Running question. I know the event is all tech, but I'm curious about other internships options in Google that are a member here that a member here has taken part in. For me, no. I haven't done any other internships than software at Google and in general.
Yeah, we were all just tech interns, sadly, so we don't have a lot of insight to share on the other options. Sorry.
Maybe in general, since there's also like a question about product management, what the skills needed. I don't know. Do you have any insights, Lucas or Vivi?
I mean, I only have a friend who did a product management internship last year. And as far as I know, you need to be good with, like, first of all, talking to people, making sure that products and projects are on track. I think it's not bad if you have some insight into the tech, because Google is a tech company, and so it's really good if you know some backgrounds in tech. You don't need to be like the best programmer ever, but you should be able to understand what the programmers are saying to you. I think for her specifically, she said that most product management interns have previous product management internship or work experience. So I think that's a good indicator for Google to see that this person can do it. But I don't think it's a must. I think the main thing how they evaluate it is actually probably the interviews also. Maybe, Lucas, do you know anything more?
Not really. I only briefly talked to business interns or management interns. Don't have too much to share, sadly.
But I think generally Google wants their product management stuff to be very technical. I think that's different to other companies. So like the standards of your tech knowledge is fairly high compared to other companies. Okay, next up, you mentioned that during the interview you're tested on data structures. Are you also tested on your niche during the interview, programming-wise? Not sure what you mean by niche. Like by what kind of?
I guess they want to say, like you were tested. They have put down a lot of questions, and like maybe like extreme level, like hard questions, and then thinking ability questions. Like they niche means they have tested you in all levels. So that's the main meaning of this.
I think it might also be like some specialization. So in generally, those at that level, your interviews will be very like standardized. Everybody will kind of have the same type of interview, at least for all like SWE interns. Research interns, I think, have a slightly different process because they're more focused on research aspects as well. But in general, you will just have a programming task that you have to solve, and you should kind of be able to explain how you approach that, and you're allowed to pick your programming language that you wish to write this thing in. So basically, you will have a shared document where you kind of write your code in without like any assistant, any code completion. You don't have anything like that, but you just kind of write the code and implement some small task that the interviewer has given you. So that's how these interviews look like.
But maybe like back to research, like if you are doing a PhD or research in a certain area and you apply a research internship in that area, then you are tested on your niche or like on your topic you're working on. So if you're working on computer vision problem in a specific field, then somebody from Google who is also in that field will ask you questions about it. So that will be another interview if you do research. But otherwise, very general. Okay. Okay, so if you want to do an internship at Google, how would I apply, or is it done on a recommendation basis? Yeah, you can simply apply on careers.google.com on their platform. Applications are open until December the 4th or 5th, and apply as early as possible. If you know somebody at Google, as said before, ask them for a referral. You need to get the referral before you apply. So if they refer you, will get a link via email. You have to click on the accept button and then you can apply. And then you have the referral. But apply before December 4th. Not sure about India timelines. That might be different. Yeah, but for EMEA, it's December 4th. Yeah, same question, I guess. Or the process. As said before, you apply, then you have a resume screening. You might get a coding test that we don't know when and why. Then you get invited to interviews. Then if you're accepted there as well, you will be in host matching, so your project matching phase where you give some preferences, and then you have like interviews with the potential hosts and your potential team. And then you get matched to a project and you get an offer. Yeah, anything to add? Okay. Interviews are the interviews oral or typed? They are basically both. So you have like you're in a Google Meet as we are right now. And then you used to be in a Google Doc and write your code in a Google Doc while talking to the interviewer about what you're doing. I think, Viviana, maybe you know more about there might be a new platform for coding interviews.
I don't know for sure, but I think I saw that there is like some kind of IDE type thing. But I'm guessing that you still cannot use autocomplete. It's basically the same thing, but it looks a bit nicer.
Okay, but it used to be the interviews in Google Docs, and then you write code in Google Docs, which is kind of weird. But that's how it is. Yeah, next question, I guess. Is there any front-end related internships? I think it's gone now, right? I didn't read it completely.
Yeah, is there any front-end related internships available in Google design and development related? I think I already answered that in the beginning, but maybe this person wasn't there yet. There is something called UX or UI internships. UI internships means that you design something, so you're part of the design team. Some big examples are material design, and then also some other people that do icons on that kind of stuff. You can also do UX research, which is that you do interviews with real users, and then you try out different designs with them and see if they understand them. And then also for me personally, I had a front-end heavy software engineering internship last year, which means that my programming was very front-end. So all of these different kinds of internships exist.
Well, Viviana, like, like for the front end, you talked about the design stuffs, right? For the design internships. So do we have any specific, development internships? Maybe internships on Angular or JavaScript? Do we have something on that?
Sorry, yeah, that's what I meant. Like, I'm a software engineer, so last year I was programming, but on a front-end department, which means it was not designing something, but it was implementing some designs. I think Lucas's was also fairly front-end this year.
So you get to pick what things you're interested in, which aspects of software development, after you have been accepted, after you had your 2 technical interviews. And then basically you can say, okay, I'm really interested in front-end work. And then basically your internship can also be mostly centered around building some UI. So it's still like, of course, kind of some like coding related things. So you won't be the one like designing the nice graphics and whatever if you're a software engineer, but you basically my internship this year was also very much focused on building a nice UI in the browser to accomplish some security task, and that so that's part of it, but it doesn't have to be. If you say, okay, you're really like only interested in some machine learning things and you want to only work with Python, then you can like specify that in your in this questionnaire after you get accepted, and then it's quite likely that you will find a team that is built around that kind of work.
So if you want to do an internship in front-end engineering, you apply for the normal software engineering internship, and then in your questionnaire you give like as a preference you want to do front-end development. And then I think there are enough projects with front-end developments that you will get one, so don't worry about that. So simply apply with a normal internship, software engineering internship, and you should be good to go. But your interviews are still general about algorithms and data structures, not specifically on front-end.
Okay, so do you guys, used to practice in LeetCode? Which competitive programming website you choose for, preparing for the interviews?
I use the book Cracking the Coding Interview, LeetCode, and I think Code Wars, or now I think now it's called Code Signal or something. Yeah, those 3 mainly.
Okay, yeah.
I didn't do any competitive programming. I just kind of looked at some like the kind of lecture contents on like what is complexity and how like do you analyze an algorithm and all of that, like a bit again kind of made sure I got some practical experience. I think that's the most important part. It's just any kind of coding experience where you have like some algorithmic problem and you have to solve it on your own. Any practice with that will be worth your time, because that will be the most important thing you will have to demonstrate, is you can literally write code.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, next up, can you use different languages to solve different questions? I don't think so. So in your interview, you have to give your preferences before, and then you are matched with the interviewer that knows the language you're interviewing in really well, and specializes in that, so you cannot switch in between. And also, I think for both of your interviews, it's the same, yeah. For both of the interviews, it's the same language, and you cannot switch, no. Next up, can you get a referral after applying?
I think yes,
Probably.
but the process is different, because I looked it up. So it only makes a difference for the person who refers to you. Because in one case, if we refer you before you apply, then I can see what your status is, like if you were successful or not. If I refer you afterwards, but before they look at your CV, then the referral still counts, but I don't get to see what your process is. In any case, it doesn't really matter for you, but the referral should be there fairly close to your application, because otherwise, if the person who is reviewing your CV looked at your CV before you got the referral, I think then it doesn't count. Yes.
Yeah, nothing to add here. I don't know. Yeah, Lucas? Okay. Then, which categories of civil engineering does one choose from? There's a lot.
Yeah, in the questionnaire, you have basically a really long list of options. It's quite specific, ranging from front-end to kind of machine learning, back-end development, all kinds of things. I don't remember the details. Yeah. It's been a while, but
different machine learning stuff. So if you want to do vision, perception, machine translation, compiler, languages in general, there's so many security. There's so many options you can choose from. So yeah, and I think there might be like you also have like a text field later on what you specifically want to work on. So if you want to work in a specific computer vision field, you check computer vision, and then in the text box you write what you exactly want to do. But again, like if you have very strict condition, like requirements, what you want to do, you might not really get interviews for projects if there is no project. So if you want to do like a very specific thing, it might be difficult to find a host via this questionnaire. So if it's for your first internship, you definitely want to get one. So match up with the project in the project matching phase. Be general, I guess. That's usually easy. And then most projects are pretty cool. So there will be projects that you didn't even think about could exist. Yeah, so be open there maybe. Next up, what languages should one know by the end of the second year?
General advice, more languages is always better. Like just having a variety of things at your disposal like doesn't hurt. In general, at Google, the languages that are most commonly used are Java, I guess JavaScript and TypeScript for front-end development, Python for anything machine learning related, and a few other things, and C++. Like those are the core ones. There's also Go, Google's own language, which is sometimes used, and yeah, of course TypeScript.
Dart.
Oh yeah, Dart. Well, I guess sure.
But what you should know, you don't have to know everything after the second year.
Oh yeah, of course.
I think probably Java is probably enough to get in. I don't know what you're doing in school. If you do we did, I think only Java until end of second year, and I personally did some Python, and some JavaScript. But I think maybe for the resume screening, it's better to have more languages. I don't know. But for the actual interview, you only are tested in one language, so you only need to be sufficient in one language. But as Lucas says, generally, I also like to know many languages because you learn more concepts about languages, and it makes it easier to get started in other languages as well. Since the project, like I started in my C Chrome was in C++, and this was the first time for me working in C++, but because I know like many different other languages, it was fairly easy for me to get started, I guess. So yeah, generally it helps, and it gives you like a bigger understanding about the whole picture, I guess. Next up, from YouTube, can one qualify for the internship when you're still a beginner at coding?
Yes.
Depends how much you're of beginner we're talking, but in general, that's what the STEP internships are for. So those are the ones where you're expected to be in your first year of your bachelor or of your study program, and basically it's expected that you don't know everything yet. So if you are in first year, that's the option you should be going for. So it's a bit easier to get through the interviews there than for full software engineering internships.
Okay, next up, which would you advise one to pass in those, Java, C++, or Python, as I've taught? Is it regarding coding interviews?
I guess he's asking about the competitive programming, like choosing one language for CP, clearing the exams, interviews of coding interviews. Yeah.
I mean, I think honestly between those three, it doesn't really matter, whichever you feel the most comfortable coding in. But you should make sure that the language you choose, that you are comfortable in doing it. Like you should know the syntax, you should know how the basic things work there. And I mean, there's definitely a difference between those languages. Make sure that you know those differences.
And like also know the standard library. Like in your interview, you might need like a heap or like different data structures or a queue maybe. So you need to know how to use them without Googling them. So you won't be allowed to use Google. Just know all your data structures you will need in interviews. Yeah, I personally use Python for the interviews simply because they provide a lot of high-level abstractions and make it easy to quickly code stuff down. And it's also like, since it was in Google Docs, not sure about this year, you don't have to care about curly braces at all, which was one of the main reasons I chose Python. But that is personal preference. But if you want to do competitive coding, programming, it's C++, like no doubt. Python is too slow, and for some questions, maybe if their question was related to that. Lucas, anything to add?
No. Oh, I mean, yes. Do you really prefer fixing indentation in a Google Doc over curly braces? That seems even more annoying than braces.
I actually don't mind, no, because like indentation is tabbing as well in Google Docs, right? And it doesn't have to compile; it just has to be look good.
Okay, sure.
Okay. I think this one was done, so you can choose many. Related to?
Yeah, so I think it's referring to that question, where you answered about the programming languages. So yeah.
Yeah, basically, so you put all of them in your CV, but you choose one for the interviews. So basically pick the one you're most comfortable.
So,
and also the language that you choose for your interviews are not necessarily the language that you will use in the internship. And also it's not uncommon that the language that you use in your internship is a new language for you. So you shouldn't be too afraid. Like, yeah, it's not that fixed. It's only for the interviews.
But for the interviews itself, it's usually Java, C++, or Python. I think you can also do JavaScript or TypeScript. Then any other languages are not encouraged. I think Go maybe as well, but the others are not encouraged. If you don't know any other languages, they can find an interviewer for you, but this should be an exception.
Yeah, I think we just said that.
Yeah. Are there certification courses available on Google to learn new languages? within Google, is it meant like not like, I think this is internally maybe like related to like what we talked about during our talk. So internally, Google has courses on different languages and tools. Out publicly available, I think on Coursera there are some courses from Google, but I don't know for sure. But online there are so many resources. You don't need Google's videos. You can just like Google any YouTube tutorial and any Udemy course or whatever you want to do. There will be fine. Yeah, but if internally, yes, they have internal stuff. Okay, this is for Lucas. Someone mentioned about spending some time at YouTube. Do you happen to know how the algorithms are determined and any tips?
Classic question. So the answer is, if I knew, I wouldn't be allowed to tell you because, of course, it's confidential. And the boring answer is it's a huge mess of machine learning models that basically have a lot of factors. So even if you know the answer, like you cannot pin it down to individual factors. It's all very complex and a very big machine.
I'm learning a lot now. What can I do to become a senior software developer? Which languages do I need to dig deep into?
To become a senior software developer, you just need to have a lot of years of experience. I think that's the only requirement. And really, like these days, it does not matter at all which language you pick for your tasks. Of course, some languages are more appropriate than others for certain tasks, like for web development. You wouldn't like pick C++, but it's really like all languages have their own advantages and drawbacks. So pick whatever you feel like. If it's something trendy, sure, it might be a good thing for like the next 2 years, but the trends change quickly as well. And whatever might be like the cool new thing today might not be that relevant in 5 or 10 years. So really, like the most important part is to be flexible, to quickly learn new things. And that's also something that Google looks for, like very broad knowledge, very kind of all-purpose engineering, and being like able to kind of transfer to a new team and learning a completely new environment and be adaptive, easy to adapt. So that's definitely kind of also my personal recommendation. In computer science, things are moving so quickly. This is not like other fields that have like hundreds of years of always the same kind of knowledge that you just need to learn once and then you're set. Like computer science, it always evolves so quickly, and all the hypes and trends change, and you need to be able to keep up with them.
Yeah. So within Google, it's probably like you become a senior engineer like after a few years from alone, basically, like when you get promoted. But in general, I think if you just want to be a senior software developer, there for every language there is a position for a senior software developer. So the language does not matter at all, much as Google has to use the language that you can do it there, but that's the only condition. Yeah. Next up, what kind of questions are asked in the interviews? Mostly competitive programming type or development. I think we also covered this one. Basically, it's competitive programming, but I feel like it's a bit easier. I feel like in competitive programming, you usually have to find the abstraction first. For some of the interview questions, it's usually that you have your data structures basically given directly. Or like, I feel like you do not have to make this gap. It depends on the questions, I guess. Like from interview to interview is different. But I think if I compare lead code, for example, to like competitive programming question, like there is more of a story about competitive programming, and within lead code it's less. Within Google interviews, it's sometimes also less of the story around it.
But it's also one part that I think competitive programming probably doesn't have at all is kind of questions on how would you test this method, like writing a unit test and stuff like that, which is also usually part of the question, or like some kind of more organizational ideas of like, oh, like what could you imagine could go wrong if you like build a product out of this and stuff like that.
Also, I think there's this general structure of interviews. Usually it's like you don't have that much time. You have 45 minutes, and some minutes of that are just talking about you and your CV and getting to know each other. So typically you have one question that's a bit easier, and you're expected to solve that question. And then after that, usually there's a follow-up question that builds up on the previous one that's a little bit more difficult. And maybe you don't solve that one, but then you're at least expected to give some kind of idea of a solution. And then like test it and optimize it, and that kind of stuff is more important, I think.
Yeah. And also your code has to be readable to some extent. So in competitive programming, I guess nobody reads it, so it should be readable. Yeah. Okay. What are your social media handles? I guess you can look us up on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn.
You are unlikely to find me anywhere, sorry. I'm not very social media active.
Yeah, that's also my only social media I'm using. So you can, yeah, I think my name should be on the screen. You can just look me up on LinkedIn. Okay. Say you choose C++. I hope they don't ask GUI questions. I don't think there will be GUI questions within your interviews. Again, it's only algorithms and data structures, and maybe something about your CV. There won't be a GUI question. Yeah. How do you know if you're rejected for the interview? If this means before the interview, so resume screening, I think you get an email, but that email might come late. I don't know. It might be like after everything is done, they send you an email. I don't know for sure. And after you interview,
rejection email.
You should get one?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
All the cases I know got one. Don't have one that didn't get anything.
Yeah,
but maybe that's also sometimes what happens. Yeah. Not sure.
And I think the rejection email after you interview will come as soon as there's feedback for the interview. So like 2 or 3 weeks after the interview, depending on how long the feedback phase takes.
But of course, none of you will get rejected because you have now the best advice ever, and you will all do great. I believe in you.
Okay, context same. Do they offer any analysts profiles-based internships? I think business analysts exist as an internship. I think.
Yeah. I suppose.
Okay, I'll just say for the contacts, like people are asking the LinkedIn profiles of yours. So I'll request my team members. Pranav, are you here? Can you share the LinkedIn, like links, the LinkedIn URLs of I think Jonathan is there, and then I think Jonathan and Viviana are there, right? Lucas is not there in LinkedIn. So,
yeah, sure. I'll drop in the Meet chat right now.
Yeah, and Lucas, are you there? No, not in the Meet chat. If you can drop in the YouTube chat, because a lot of people are there.
Okay, yeah. Sure.
And Lucas, are you there anywhere in like any social media you have?
Not really, no.
Okay.
So I have some inactive accounts lying around, but nothing that would be interesting to anybody.
Okay.
Yeah,
sure.
I think also, like, my LinkedIn won't be too interesting as well. Just as info in advance, you will just find. I think my resume is up there if you want to compare that one with yours. But I think apart from that, I don't really use it as well. So, don't expect like a lot of posts about stuff.
Yeah, I also typically only accept people that I know personally. But if you have any specific questions that I can help you out with, just write that in the message and I can reply.
Same for me.
Sure. And I'll just, I'll request audience if you can endorse them for the skills, because they have already helped us a lot. And you can, endorse their skills in LinkedIn. It will be really nice gesture. Yeah.
Oh, okay, guys. Thank you for the Q&A. I'll give 2 people a chance to just those who are in Google Meet. If you want to ask a personal question, please reply with a +1 on the chat section, and I'll give at least 2 days to ask their question. If you are in Google Meet and you have a burning question, just reply in the chat section with a +1. Okay, Cliff, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So thanks for the opportunity. So I think I've seen this question somewhere in the YouTube chat section. People are asking, like, what's the best way to get referrals? Like, you said referrals help people get these opportunities. So, like, what's the best way that people can get these referrals? I think maybe we'll start with Jonathan, then Lucas, then Viviana.
I knew somebody personally who was at Google. So I was lucky, I guess. I think if you go to, like, Google organizes events, maybe you can get to know some people there. I'm not a big fan of just randomly writing people on LinkedIn, although it works, I think. I'm just not a huge fan of it, because then the whole referral system just doesn't work at all. Because the person who referred me knew me and knew my coding skills. No big. It makes sense if you get to know, like, somebody who works there. There are events. There are, if you work on open source stuff, and there's a Googler on there as well that helps maybe. Yeah, Lucas.
Yeah, I agree. There's, like, either you're lucky and you already, like, happen to know somebody, or you kind of look out for example, at our university there was an event where we had, like, some tour through the Google office, and we could talk to some Googlers there. So I'm not sure if any of that is, like, offered at your places, but, like, that helps. And yeah, otherwise, I guess, like, it's all about kind of having the right connections sometimes. So if you don't have them, I'm not sure. I don't have many connections. I'm not even on LinkedIn, so I don't know how that stuff works. I just got lucky in the beginning, and that's I guess, like, the most true story, I guess. Yeah, don't have any secrets to share on that.
Yeah, I also didn't have any referral, but I think what helps sometimes. So there's coding competitions by Google, to capture the flag, and then Kickstart and all of that kind of competitions. You can just Google them. And I think if you're one of the top contestants there, you will get to know a lot of Googlers anyways. And I think because they know that you can actually do coding, I think they will be happy to write you referrals anyways. So maybe that's also a good way to start.
Generally, I guess, like, participating at these events and doing good there is basically your card into an internship. Or, like, you will, if they know that you did Hashcode or, like, Kickstart and did well, they will let you through the interview, or, like, let you to an interview probably. So these kind of events help a lot.
Okay. Thank you for the. As we wait for Ruben, Ben has a question. Ben?
Oh, yes. Hi, guys. It's a pleasure being with you guys. So my question is, how do you overcome the imposter syndrome, especially when you are a beginner and then when you want to apply for opportunities and then you look out for what other people have done also there, and then you feel like, I haven't done much enough to apply for these internships and opportunities that are from big organizations. How do you deal with those, and how do you overcome them? Thank you.
I mean, honestly, I feel like it's really hard, especially in Google once you're inside, but also even before, because there's always someone that's better than you in something. And I think my biggest thing was just learning that, like, to be happy with what I can do, and to stop comparing myself with the people that are better than me. And also, I think I have been learning to take the imposter syndrome and turn it into an inspiration, in the sense that if I know that someone is better than me in something, instead of being envious of them, I can try to learn from that and learn from them and learn how they do things to become better myself. So I think, yeah, that's definitely a big struggle, but I think you can turn it around if you have the right mindset.
Yeah, that's well said. I think like everybody has imposter syndrome. Like even the senior engineers at Google have this imposter syndrome because there's like, it's such a big field. It's impossible to know everything. Like it's impossible to even know a small portion of it, I guess. So you will always have imposter syndrome. You just, yeah. I think Vivian said it really well, how to overcome it. I don't have any other remarks. Just know it's normal. Accept it. Know that you also have strengths. I think like there's a concept of circle of competences. I think where basically like you have like competent. Well, it's background blur, but like these are your competences, and then these are the others, and you have like a small overlay, but you only see like the competence that the other one has that you don't. This is like I think a great metaphor. So you don't really see your own strengths. You usually just see weaknesses, and just know that it is that way. It's that way for everyone, and that maybe makes it a bit easier.
Awesome. I think we'll end with Ruben's question. Ruben is inquiring about CV templates and how to get a good CV template. I think Jonathan mentioned about his CV being on LinkedIn. He can comment about the CV template.
Yeah, mine is online. I don't know if it's a great template. I don't know. Yeah, I think there. I honestly don't know. What does a great template look like? I think there are nowadays like many of these colorful ones where you split it in between different brackets, and some have still the old school one. I have an old school one. I don't know if there are any. What the differences are. I think like most important is that it's structured and they can quickly find the information the recruiter wants.
Yeah, I think none of us are like extreme experts at CVs, so I'm not sure if we can provide like this magical answer of use this template and you will definitely get accepted. It's a lot of personal preference, and yeah, I think like it's more important what you put in there than what template you use.
But there is a YouTube video from Google that explains what they look for in a CV. I think most of that we already said, but maybe it helps you as well if you look at that video. You can just Google it, like Google CV something. I think it will turn up. Maybe someone of us can also post it in the comments. And then also my CV is also online on LinkedIn. It's public. If you want the template, I can also send it to you if you message me on LinkedIn. But as Jonathan said, we're not reviewers, we're not CV experts, so there's no guarantee that they will work.
Yeah. Viviana, actually, the problem is like if you don't accept the connections, you can't message it. So you have to be connected for messaging people.
You can send me a connection request with a message though. Yeah, so usually I don't accept just random people, but if someone has a specific question, then I know what it is about, and then it's okay.
Yeah, I think it will help a lot of people. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Viviana. I think I can comment about how to reach out if Viviana is not on your connection. Just upgrade your LinkedIn to premium. Then I think you can access her through the mail system. So, guys, thank you for the insights of the session today, and I'm also thank you to Viviana for writing back to me. In Swahili, we say asante. Thank you for Jonathan and Lucas for being available. I will hand over to Samia, who will do the official trans session. Hey, Samia.
Hi, guys. Thank you so much. We have learned a lot, and hope everyone have learned something, got some insights. So on behalf of DSC Moi and DSC Acharya Institute of Technology, I would like to express my gratitude to all of you, our speakers, especially Viviana, Lucas, Jonathan, and the audience who have come together here from various countries for your cooperation, which has enabled us to conduct a highly fruitful session. Thank you so much, and we highly appreciate it. This is just not the last event, but more to come. Asanteni.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us. Thanks for the great questions. It's also
Yeah,
important.
thanks.
Yeah, questions are always the most fun aspect.
I think we can have a parting shot from our panel. Each will give a minute from Viviana, Jonathan, and Lucas in that order.
Sorry, what did you say?
We can have a parting shot from our panel that is in the order of Viviana, then Jonathan, then Lucas.
Some parting words or?
Oh, parting words. Sorry. Yeah. No, yet I'm really honored to be like speaking here today to you, and I hope that it kind of helped someone of you to like apply to Google or just to apply to any internship or just generally with your career. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope we answered your questions, and good luck to all of you with your future careers.
Yeah, same from my side. Thanks for having us. And I wish you best of luck in the near future.
Yeah, likewise. I think imposter syndrome applies to all of us, so I'm also feel humbled to like be in this position where I just like speak and give advice on things. Like I don't feel qualified to do any of that. Like I'm just some random person who like likes to code. Like why do you listen to me? So thank you for having us. It was great to kind of get to know a few of you from the other side of the world. It's definitely not something that I have a lot, but I really enjoy meeting different cultures, different people. So thanks for that. Also, one final thing. I'm not on LinkedIn, but feel free to send me an email. I guess we can put that here if you have any more questions specifically. So yeah, thank you very much. Enjoy.
Okay, thank you, guys. Let me pass my apology for the lead Ivy, not able to talk, but she's traveling. So I will hand over to our vice lead, that is Cliff, to do the closing of this session. Cliff.
Yeah, okay. I think thanks, Ian, for giving me this opportunity. I'd like to thank all who came for this session. Thanks to the attendees. Thanks to our speakers. I think we've gotten key insights and it will help us even as we progress to our career, maybe applying to Google internships or any other internship. I think basically they apply all around. And I'd like to also extend the apologies from our lead, Ivy Walobwa. Yeah, and I think thanks for the session. It's been a wonderful session. We gained a lot and we hope to have you back for more sessions, maybe a technical one. Thank you. Over to you, Ian.
Okay, thank you guys for the session. I appreciate everyone for showing up. Officially, the session is now adjourned till further notice or something of the sort. So today's I think today's in India, and in Kenya it's night. So good night, namaste, and thank you for the session. Goodbye.
Namaste.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Yeah.
Bye.
Gracias.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ian. Thank you, Ivy. Thank you, everyone. Yeah. Bye-bye. Take care.